Hey everybody, hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the word. And today that word is unfit. Unfit. Now, have you ever noticed that a lot of times when we come to the Lord, especially at a time like Moses, a conversation with the Lord, that when he asks us to do something, all of a sudden we can think of all of our flaws and all of our inability to do exactly what he's asking us to do. But yet, away from God, when we're kind of going on in our own moments, it seems like we have the tendency to be very prideful. And we don't look at any of those flaws, right? We look at only the good things and the things that maybe even the things that God has blessed us with, and we look to those things. It's kind of what's going on with Moses here is he's gifted in a lot of ways and he doesn't know it. He doesn't realize it. But the key to all of this is God doesn't call the equipped, but he equips the called. As I'm sure you've heard. I know I've said it before, but I've heard that for years and years, and how true it is. So maybe today, first and foremost, before we jump into our scriptures, before uh, you start making up excuses as to why you can't do what God has called you to do, maybe you just need to remember that it's God who's calling you to do it. And if he, as I've heard as well, if he called you to it, then he'll see you through it. So with that, let's jump into Exodus chapter 4, verses 10 through 12, as we're continuing this week and continuing in our year-long, so far, our series on prayer, and now in Exodus this week. Verse 10 says, Then Moses said to the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. So the Lord said to him, Who has made man's mouth? Or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I, the Lord? Now therefore, go, and I will be with you. I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say. See, it's amazing that as he claimed that he was unfit, God gives him a promise that I'm going to go with you. I'm going to be with your mouth. I can give you the words and I can teach you what you will need to say. But isn't it just like us to be just like Moses? And when God calls us and lays out the plan directly, that we say, God, I'm unfit. I'm not capable of doing what you're calling me to do. Maybe God has called you to be a Sunday school teacher, a deacon, a preacher, an evangelist, a missionary, a greeter, which I know, fist bump right now, right? Or I mean, he maybe has called you to do any number of things, but we'll say, I'm not able. And at the truth of that is very true that you alone are not able. But God in you and God through you is able. See, the problem with Moses and his continuing excuses, one right after another, it's not that he really is trying to be that humble. It's not really that he's saying, God, I'm not a good speaker. I mean, that's essentially what he's saying. God, I don't talk real good. I mean, he could have had a lisp. He could have had a stutter. He could have just been, fumbling over his words as I do quite often. But to think that he was trying to use that as an excuse, he wasn't. He was focusing on reasons why he didn't want to do what God had called him to do, when all he needed was one reason to do it. I mean, all along, isn't that what, when God is calling us to do something, do you think he really wants to hear our excuses? Do you think he doesn't already know our hearts? And so with that, he already can tell, and we'll see this especially tomorrow, that he knows what Moses is driving at. He knows what Moses is going to tell him. He knows that he's just making excuses because he just doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to go and have to face Pharaoh. He doesn't want to have to go and rescue these people, because it means that he's going to have to confront Pharaoh, confront all those others. He's going to have to go back home and even confront maybe his past. And maybe that's what he was hiding from. Maybe that's one of the reasons he didn't want to. Maybe the reason that you're not doing what God has called you to do is because of your past. Maybe you're saying, well, God, there's plenty of other people that can do better. There's so many flaws in me that I just can't do it. I've shared many times, and I know many of y'all will laugh at this, but I remember there was a time when I was shy and would not get up in front of people and talk. And I mean, I just didn't like to do that. I would do it if I had to, but it was just not where I felt comfortable. And even part of that is kind of even still true today. But when it's doing what God has called me to do, it's still knowing that there's nothing in me, but I know that it's Him. And so, I know people will pick and say, well, man, you talk plenty. You could cut those sermons a little shorter, be all right. But see, the thing is that we have to focus on what God can do through us. And for years, I even ran from my calling because of something similar. Like, I didn't want to have to confront my past. I didn't want to have to, God, I don't speak real good. There's plenty of other people that are more capable of doing it. But see, all God needs is just one simple response from us. And we've seen this in our Genesis as we were going through those prayers as multiple times, is that people said, "Here I am." Like Isaiah says. He says, "Here I am, Lord, send me." So maybe today we need to quit making excuses, saying that we're unfit for the job when we're not fit for the job. Right? There's nothing in us that fits us for that job except for Christ in us, the hope of glory in each of us, working in us to accomplish what God has called us to do. So today, I want you to simply say, "Lord, here I am. Use me." God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.